and welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and video show which brings you leadership lessons, knowledge and experience, and wisdom from hundreds of successful individuals, role models from around the world. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe so you won't miss a new episode. I'm your host, Frits Bussemaker, and today I'm honored to have a conversation with Jemuel Lampe. Hey, Jemuel, welcome to the program.
Thank you so much, Fritz.
Jemuel, I'll briefly introduce you to our audience before we have our conversation. You are a social impact maker and the founder of a coffee roasting company named Zuivere Koffie in Dutch, which is pure or clear coffee. And we'll go into that later, why it's called that. And your coffee roasting company actually got a lot of media attention. And maybe, again, a little bit cryptic maybe for the audience, we'll get that soon. Why is it called Zuivere Koffie? Can you explain what the double meaning is?
Yes. In the Netherlands, we have a saying, I think you can call it in English, when something sounds fishy or is fishy, then it's not completely like honest. There's something about it. That's the reason why we call it in the Netherlands. Then we say it's not pure coffee. So pure coffee is a good thing.
Yeah.
So not pure coffee really associates with something sneaky, something fishy, something's off the hook. So that was the reason for me to just choose this name, because it is pure coffee. So there's nothing fishy about it.
Okay.
Still a little bit cryptic.
Okay. Well, then the next question. Why that name? Why that name?
Yeah, we are the very first worldwide roasting plant inside penitentiary, so inside of the prison systems. And we started in 2014 as the very first coffee brand in the Netherlands that helps people who were formerly incarcerated. And from 2016, we are the first one in the world to have a roasting plant inside the biggest prison of the Netherlands. And because we work with inmates, with people who are incarcerated and formerly incarcerated, there's always something fishy about that, right? Could you trust them?
Yeah.
Could you give them a second or a third chance in life? And that's the reason I chose to really choose for this name, because there's nothing fishy about it. We all have a past. I have been incarcerated for 6 times in my life. I was already going the first time into prison when I was 13 years old. And the reason to choose this name was really about showing the whole world we're not ashamed of what we have done. We are not proud of it also, but we want to see that we are truly have changed our lives.
Great. So is this also about redemption?
Yes, it's a lot about redemption, definitely. Yeah, the fun part is that in the UK, in 2017 has opened the Redemption Roasters. So they're the second one in the world that have a roasting plant inside. And I think it's all about redemption, because the moment you have committed a crime, you get from a sentence from the judge, then you are paying you're paying in time, right? You're paying for your crime. But the moment you get released, and it's also in the Netherlands, but I think around the world, people still see you as the person that committed the crime, and likewise, you're still guilty until the society. But you're not guilty anymore because you already paid for the crime. So it's about redemption, but I also think it's about recovering, because you have to recover as a person, that you are not the person, you're not the crime that you have committed. You're still a husband or a son or a mother or a sister or a brother that have committed a crime in the past. You paid for it, but now you're still a human being that deserves all chances in life. That's what I think.
Yes.
What do you think?
Actually, no, thank you for asking. No, I think I agree with you that redemption is about forgiving and letting go. I can also imagine that because people remember, it's difficult not to remember something, and I think that's tricky to make that distinction between not remembering something and forgiving something. Remember. Now,
definitely.
Now, what you just said triggered me because no, we're not going to go into details on why you got incarcerated 6 times, but the fact it was 13 years old. I mean, you're a child at that age. You're young. Was it in hindsight obvious that this was going to be your life at the time, or did it? How did that happen? Because
I think it's a good question, because in the Netherlands we have a saying that it depends on where your cradle is, right? Because it really depends on where you grow up. And I was born in Aruba. I was made in Curacao, but I was born in Aruba, and at 3 years of age.
And for the people who don't know that, because this is a global audience, those are two islands in the Caribbean.
In the Caribbean, yes. And I have when I was 3 years old, my older brother and my mother. So I was raised without a father. We moved from Aruba to the Netherlands because my mom really wanted to give us a better chance in life, right? So she was really going forward. My uncle was a pilot for many years for the KLM. So he invited her to come to the Netherlands and to really give us a good education. When I was 11 years old, I came home, and we moved into one of the baddest neighborhoods in the Netherlands. It's in the governance city of The Hague, and it's called the Painters area, the Schildersbuurt.
Yeah.
So it really is a location that there's a lot of crime. There still is until this very day. But in the 80s and 90s, this was very familiar for a lot of gang-related criminal activities and a lot of neighborhood crimes. And when I was 11 years old, I came home on on Old Year's Day, so the 31st of December. And my mom was crying on the sofa and sitting there. And I came in, I said, "Mom, what's going on?" And she told me that my brother was caught for a couple of crimes, for multiple crimes, and that he had to go to jail for a couple of years. So he was arrested, and it was he'd done a lot of tough crimes. And I have to tell you, he was 15 at that time, because we are only different for 4 years. So when I was 11, let me see.
Yeah.
When I was 11, my because of my brother went to prison, I stayed home with my mom, and all the pain and all the how do you say that? All the pain and all the like sorrows that she had to carry out on me, right? And it was not her idea of doing that. I'm 100% sure that is how do you call that? It was not her plan to giving me all the bad things that happened to my brother to pass it over me. But I have to be honest that we didn't have a lot of money. So it was really stressful for my mom at that time, you know. So I was at that moment, I was 11 years old. My brother was in prison, and his friends were kind enough, I always say, to take care of me. Yeah. And you have to imagine that if you don't have a big brother around you because he's in prison, that his friends will take care of you in a bad way also, you know.
Yes.
So they took care of for us for a little bit of money, but also was really growing up with them in all the activities that they did.
Yeah.
I was just 11 years old.
Okay, you're alluding to a future, but were you aware what was happening, and could you stop that, or were you, I would say, naive at the time?
Very naive, very naive. I think to be really honest, I never saw it as a criminal activity. I saw it as something like, I knew it was edgy because I was just a kid, right? I was 12, 13 years old. So you have to imagine that we were folding money for big drug dealers, and because we were children, me and my friends have tiny hands, and we were rolling the money and putting it inside of stereo boxes and speakers and stuff. But we were kids, and we were getting like 20 guildens, 25 guildens to do that. So for us, we didn't saw it as really criminal activities. We didn't saw it as something really bad, and we were not overseeing the consequences of that, right? But it was the whole environment that was like this. So that's why I'm always teaching my guys and girls. It really depends on who you hang with, is what you become, right? Because in the Netherlands we say it's, I don't know how good English to say, but it's like when you go hang out with bad environment, you also become bad, right?
Yeah. An English expression, it takes a village to raise a child.
Definitely, yeah, and it also takes the same village to ruin a child, right? Because it's really with all the people around it. And the difficult part that I really found in that is that because everybody was doing it, I wasn't seeing it as wrong. Because the neighbor was doing it and somebody else was doing it. So it was really something as a whole environment. And I was really drawn into it. Of course, when I got caught for the very first time for was a burglary, I was just 12 and a half years old. So of course I knew, because I had to stay a couple of days in the prison, in the police department. That was the first time of entering a cell. And of course I knew it was wrong, but I was not afraid of it. So I continued to do this. And when I got into high school at 13 years old, I had to tell everybody in the classroom. They said, yeah, what is your family situation and everything? So I had to say that my brother was in prison, right? So there I had the opportunity. Am I going to be ashamed and saying, yeah, my brother's in prison and I'm pathetic and please have mercy upon me? Or be careful for me. My brother's in prison, so don't mess with me.
Yeah,
and I took.
Yeah. I just remember one of the Hollywood films, I believe, Coming to America, where it's almost seen as a badge of honor, where young De Niro is caught, sent to prison, and it's for his environment, it was a badge of honor. So again, that's Hollywood, but you're describing a real life situation where, in that situation, you're getting different success criteria almost.
Yeah, definitely. And I think that's also how prison is seen, right? The moment you are in a gang, you have been incarcerated for, even if it's a couple of months only, you come out and it's more that people are, wow, okay, you were to prison, so you're a tough guy, right?
Yeah.
And that was the environment that we grew up in. And if I think back now, in the years in the beginning of the 90s, there was it's like a famous gang around the world. It's called the Crips.
Yeah,
it's all covered in blue, and I was joining the Crips in The Hague, and the Hague city we had over 300 gang members at the time. So it was really a tough situation also for the government to reach us. Sometimes now I think back is where was the government to help some of the youngsters like me, to reach out onto us, right? Because the only thing we needed was to be seen and maybe to be loved or to be acknowledged and to be guided, right? We needed mentorship, and we didn't get that mentorship in school. We didn't get that mentorship from the government. So we get this mentorship on the streets. And because we got it on the streets, that's where we receive respect. So we also gave respect. So that was like a cycle that we always stayed in, right?
Yeah.
No,
this. I'm just curious how you were able to break that cycle, because you're describing one clear, consistent direction going from bad to worse. How do you break that?
It was very difficult to break. I think it was very difficult to break. I wanted to break it because, of course, you know that road doesn't go in a good way, right? Because I've lost in the first years, in my teenage years, there were already people being killed at that time, or being incarcerated for many, many years. We had a lot of liquidation. So if I look back 15, 16 years old, knowing people who are being killed or that killed somebody and went to prison is crazy. If I think about it now, that I have children of 25 and 21 years old, that they were engaged at their 16th in this kind of environment. So I think everybody had a lot of talent. Everybody had the potential to be somebody, but there was no really outreach. When I was 16 years old, I decided to try to work somewhere. So I made an application to work in a famous warehouse, no, not a warehouse, like a mall of it's called Vroom and Dreesman, so it's a very famous name, and they have got a restaurant. It's called La Place, and in the La Place restaurant they had a application for somebody to make the orange juices, to make the juices in the morning. So I just woke. I cannot remember why I walked in. So I was really trying to do something else, right? So this is in the midst of going in and outside of prison. So I went in, I asked for a job, they hired me, and I had 3 months, this like summer job. So my environment changed a little bit. And in this period, there was an entrepreneur from Amsterdam. He was a very young guy. He made a very famous ice cream brand in the Netherlands. And he was also a young guy. I think he was at that time maybe 21, 22. So he was a very young guy, and he sold like a concept to this mall brand, to Vroom and Dreesman. So he was very talented, right? To have at this young age already sold like a product, right? And then I had the opportunity to work. I had the privilege to work with him for like 2-3 weeks on his site, because he was explaining everything about ice cream, and I was really like absorbing everything, because he was like coaching, right? He was not looking at my past. He was not looking at if I have the potential or the credentials or the scholarship to learn. He just saw me. That's what he did. And then he said to me, his name is Edwin. He said, "Can I?" No, he said, "I have to go now because this is just a small project. I have to go to other restaurant. And but here's my number. And if you really want to change your life, going a different path, call me." And I took his number. I put it in the paper. I put it in my trousers, and I forgot about it. And I never called him for 4 years. So it took 4 years to go inside of the prison again 2 times, and coming out and really thinking how I'm going to really change my life for the better, right? So then I remembered I still have this guy's telephone number, and thank God he still had the same number. And what is really nice to say, he still has the same number today. I'm 45 right now, so he has the very first phone numbers. So I called him at that time, and then I said, "What do you mean about giving me a chance, right?" And he says, "No, I think you have a lot of potential." So that was the first time that somebody told me that I have a lot of potential. And he says, "You can become everything you want to because you're a very talented guy. So I just want to offer you a job." That's it. So I started at my 20th years old with my very first honest, good job. And it was a job of an ice cream scooper, because he had a couple of ice cream shops. So I started scooping ice cream. And I just began as an ice cream scooper, and he had a manager working there. But after a couple of weeks, I noticed that one of the people was stealing money from him, because I look different at things, right? So I was talking to him, and then he gave me the opportunity to becoming like a manager, but it's a big word because it was a shop of 6 square feet, 6 square meters. So it was a very, very tiny shop. But it was the first time that somebody gave me a chance. So this was really, sorry?
And responsibility.
And responsibility, and also something to do the whole day. Because if you work 5 and 6 days in a week, it keeps you off the streets. So my whole environment on the street was still the same. My brother was still active in criminal activities. All my friends still were. And I was the one trying to get out.
Okay, so, just a question there, Jemuel. So I understand now where you're going to, wanting to get out, but I'm just curious, how did, I would say, your old environment react? Were they trying to pull you back? Or did they or were they okay with you letting go and say, "No, you've chosen a different life"?
No, they were always, in the first years that I was working there, they were not like pulling me back, but making fun of me.
Yeah.
Because I was trying to be like, in their eyes, somebody who wants to do good, right? And I never, I only thought of getting this opportunity to change things, and not maybe even change, because I have to be honest. I think at that time I didn't saw it as change. That's the word we use today, right? But I thought I want to be in a different place. You know, I want to really gain, because criminal activities and criminal money is like very fast. You know, it comes quick, but it also goes quick. Yeah, and you can make like 100,000 euros, but you can also spend it in 2 months, and then you have a couple of months that you don't have that kind of money, and then a lot of money comes again, but it never, it's not sustainable, right? Because you have a different lifestyle when you have that kind of money, because you haven't worked really hard for it, so you don't have the value of money. So you also buy expensive stuff like cars and food, and you spend it on booze and girls, let us say like that, you know. So when I got this opportunity, they were, every time they saw me, even my brother was like, yeah, okay, he's trying to do good, you know, and they were like coming to I won't say my shop, because later on it became my shop, but in the time that I was working there, they were coming and they were sharing what they have done yesterday, the day before, how much money they gained. They come to show their stuff. And that was pulling me. I have to be honest. I was going like, okay, but I don't want to go that route. I'm going to go different, you know? So it was very difficult to get out and to make this decision as a young man, right? Because I was just 20 years old. I can remember one day he went for a couple of months. He went to Italy to have like a journey for his ice cream shops. Mm-hmm. And then he came back, and then I collected all his money. But I was really working good in the shop, so I was really making it best, making the customers feel that they were treating well. So we were tipped well, and people come every day more and more and more to have some coffee and to have some ice cream. And when he came back, I can remember until the day, like as if it was yesterday, he counted all his money. And then because I kept it in a safe, and then he told me, this is not right. And he was counting it again. No, this is not possible. So I was going like, well, what do you mean it's not possible, right? Because he knew my background. I said, what do you mean? Do you think I stole from you? And then he says, no, it's too much. So I went, too much. And then we found out that he was many years that he had a shop, people stole from him. So he never ever saw this shop thriving this well. And then he said, so I started laughing. I said, do you think I put extra money in it? I didn't, you know. And then he says, no, but you're doing really good. And he says, if you keep on like this, I will help you in 1 year to buy the shop for me. So there was a second opportunity to becoming an entrepreneur at 21 years of age. And that really changed my life, because then my environment completely changed, because then I couldn't hang out with the wrong people anymore, because I was an entrepreneur. I was already a father. I became a father at 19 years of age. I think that also changed a lot of my perspective in life, because I didn't want my son to raise up in gang related, and I was dealing cocaine at the time that my son was born. So I didn't want to do that anymore. And when I bought this shop, I made a wrong error. I made a wrong turn, because I got a question from another entrepreneur, famous entrepreneur, and he asked me, I know your past. I know your brother has a famous name in cocaine. Could you get me some cocaine? And then he asked me if he can have it like party drugs in the weekend, right? Yeah. So there was for me an opportunity to say no, but I didn't want to come over as a woozy. So I said, you know what, I'm gonna call my brother, and so I called my brother and arranged 5 grams of cocaine for this guy. I have to tell you, entrepreneur, changed life, have a very successful shop at that time. And then he came to buy it, and it's like we call it a pony pack. I can show you, because this is the package that we use for our tea at the moment.
Yeah.
But this is the way you fold. It's also like origami, but it's a way of folding a small envelope. You see?
Yes.
And this is the way you sell cocaine in the streets. And this used to be a 5-gram size, but you have them smaller as a 1 gram. So he was buying 5 grams, and then you put the cocaine in, and then you fold it. This is how you sell it. And now it looks like a sugar stick, right? So this guy came in for a cappuccino. I put the sugar, the cocaine on his saucer, and then he bought it from me. He paid. There was no PIN transaction, so it was all cash at that time. So he was paying cash, put the money in the register, and I sold cocaine after many years of not selling cocaine. A week later, he came back. Can I do it again? Can I buy it again? And then I started to sell cocaine from out an ice cream shop in The Hague while my life was changed. And I didn't want to do that. I didn't need the money. It was, I couldn't say no because I just didn't want to come over as somebody that was afraid. So he told his friends, and their friends told their friends. And without knowing, one day I was selling cocaine for 2 weeks to a guy who was a police officer. And then I got arrested and I had to go to prison for 58 days as an entrepreneur. And there I said to myself, I will never, ever, ever, ever come into prison again. That didn't work out because I still am in prison, but today I can also leave, you know.
Yeah.
But as an entrepreneur, I lost a lot of customers because a lot of regulars knew I went to prison. And then I said, how could I be so foolish of almost throwing away everything that I'm now built for, you know, that I'm working hard for. And then I decided I'm going to never look back and decide. I'm going to completely focus on being a good entrepreneur. I'm gonna make it. And there was my turning point.
Yeah. Okay, Jemuel, also because of the time is moving fast, maybe fast forward to Zuivere Koffie, because the way you describe it actually generates a couple of questions I have. So was that an endeavor to set it up something you realized, or was it somebody else who triggered you, and you became the entrepreneur who...
Yeah, no, I think in 2012, I was already an entrepreneur. I didn't want to have everything to do with police or justice. And in 2012, I saw the famous chef Gordon Ramsay, who opened a prison bakery in the UK. It's called Bad Boy Bakery. And there are 3 like television series about it, Gordon Behind Bars.
Yeah.
And I saw the difficulty of helping people who were like me to get them out of the prison and really change. And there was like a trigger point for me saying, no, I'm going to do this. So that was in 2012. So in 2014, I decided to take the first coffee store in the Netherlands and to only helping people who are formerly incarcerated. In this period, I met a prison director, prison ward from Heer Hugo Waard. His name is Frans Douw, who invited me to come to prison in 2015 to see if we could also bring this closer to the problem, to bring it inside the prison. And that for me was unthinkable, right? Because how somebody who was formerly incarcerated could come work in a prison and to do this. So he gave me the first opportunity, opened the big steel doors of the prison. I took my company inside of the prison. And in 2016, we opened our big roasting plant. A roasting plant didn't stay there. So we now have 3 locations in the Netherlands in different prisons. And while the roasting plant is the biggest one, but we also have a bakery and we have a tea production company. And they're all inside of the prison.
Yeah. And by the way, I like the names you give to the products: Grey All Day, Exotic Escape, Black on Black, Power Chicas, Badass Vanilla Cookies. I like the gimmicks, the marketing behind that. At the same time, how often do you get complaints or people complaining about the fact you are turning something very bad, very serious into something funny, into something as a joke, and something that's lighthearted? What's your view on that? The fact that that these names suggest that you're not taking it serious, or does this help you to overcome something is serious?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both, because I don't look at it lighthearted, because we only help people who are acknowledging they're wrong.
Yeah.
If you're not, because I think that's a big part of recovery, right? Is by acknowledging that you did something and you're punished for it. But what we do is that we also want to stay close to who we are.
Yeah.
And we cannot become a very brave look on products, because we are not like that. We are all a little bit scratched. And so that's the reason we use it. But we used to have, and that's a good argument that you give, we used to call our teas different.
Yeah.
We just changed it, because it was called, like our chamomile tea was called Calm the Fuck Down. So it had really a little bit of edginess on there. No? And so in the beginning of our company, I really thought that we had to look for the edge of things. And now I look at, we are a high quality producer. And of course, we can be honest about our past. Because I think if I leave our past, or that we are in prison, then people would not give our guys also a chance in life. Right?
Okay. And Jemuel, sorry for asking this following. The following question is: when you first became an entrepreneur with your ice cream shop, it was very easy, unfortunately, to fall back into the same mistakes in the same environment, selling the Coke. The fact that you are so open and vocal about your past with this new enterprise, this is also a way to protect yourself from falling in the same track. If you tell the world, look, I'm an ex-con, I'm an ex-criminal, I've been in prison, and the whole world knows that, that actually stops you from making the same mistake. Is that part of the reason why you're so open about it?
No, I don't think that's the reason, but it does help. So I'm clear with you on that one, right? I'm agreeing with you on that one, because a lot of times I come in contact with people who are in prison, right? We have 70 guys working with us in our prison system. So I come in contact with guys who are not completely changed yet. So it does give how do you call it, an extra blocking, you know. But I also think it's a part of my recovery.
Got that.
And because we give a lot of talks, like even yesterday to Nijrode, we travel around the world to tell our story. And every time I tell my story, it's like also helping me to see to myself, you're acknowledged. You're somebody else, you're changed. Yeah. And I think that is the reason we are really helping also all of our staff members to be open and honest about it, because it will help them in the end.
Okay. Last couple of questions then. Can you see yourself at a certain point in the future say, well, that was a different life, that was the past, and I'm going to move on? Or is it what you're doing? Oh,
are you still there?
Sorry. Yeah. Well. Sorry. So I'm going to reiterate my question, Jemuel. I was wondering, can you imagine in your future life that you say that was a different life, that was in the past, so that you say, okay, I'm going to leave it behind? Is that something you see yourself doing, or do you always want to make that?
Now I understand. Yeah, now I understand your question. That's a very good question, you know, Fritz, because I am thinking about that. How long do I need to say that I want formally incarcerated, right? Because I won in 2017 the best entrepreneur in the area that we live in. We have gained some awards, some prizes. We're nominated for the most beautiful things also around the world. We are invited by ministries all over the world. Next year, I'm traveling to 12 different countries. I think it's because of my past, of what I've done, but I also managed, by the grace of God, I managed to also have a successful enterprise.
Yes.
And when does it become me as an entrepreneur and not being the entrepreneur with a past? So I think that's a very good question. And I really hope that changes. And even if it changes for me, right? Because sometimes I think a lot of the things we have is because of my past. So I managed to turn it around to something good. But being here today as a successful company, providing job opportunities for a lot of people, that is also who I am, right?
Hey. And Jemuel, unfortunately, we're almost running out of time.
Yeah.
So many questions I still
Yeah,
actually
we're gonna
have.
do a sequel one day.
Yeah.
We're gonna do a sequel.
Good. Yeah, promise. One question then to end this. What would your advice be to young people out there you meet? What do you want to give those people?
You are so full of potential. And sometimes it takes a village to raise a child. So it takes mentorship around you as a person. So I'm really directing this also maybe to the listener, and to understand that who you are and the full potential that you have, it takes also sometimes other eyes to see it, right? But if you get this opportunity to grab it by the both hands and work hard for it, because you can really become everything you want. You can achieve everything. And I never knew this. And that's the one thing I always ask the people who work with me in prison. I said, do you understand that you can reach everything that you want? And it takes a long time maybe to get there, but you have to start today, and start small. Don't despise the day of small beginnings.
Jemuel, hey, thank you so much for great advice, a great story, an open story, open-hearted story. Thank you, and we're going to plan a sequel.
Yes, cool. Thank you so much, Fitz.
Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.